All right, thank you so much for having me, and good morning, everyone. My name is Jamila Wanza, and I'm a talent acquisition director here at Freddie. And America relies on Freddie Mac to support our housing market. Since being chartered by Congress in 1970, we fulfilled our mission to keep mortgage money flowing. We support the stability of the housing market, and we promote housing affordability. And we continue to lead the housing industry forward by building a better housing finance system. So Freddie Mac operates in what's considered the US secondary mortgage market. And this means that we don't lend directly to borrowers, but we buy loans that meet our standards from approved lenders. And with that money that lenders receive in return, they can then make loans to other qualified borrowers. And we do shift a big portion of credit risk associated with loans we own to private investors. And we can focus in on programs designed to support overlooked and underserved communities by bringing much needed relief to areas that need it the most. Thus far, we have made home possible for home buyers and renters more than 80 million times. And that's something that we feel really, really good about. So my role in talent acquisition is leading our team of talent advisors that support what we call the business segment. And that really spans across a variety of different skill sets to include loan servicing, quantitative analytics, data analytics, business management roles, and so on and so on. I've been here with Freddie for a little over 2 years. I joined Freddie because of the incredible culture that we have. We are a majority minority organization, and that is something that I feel really good about. It's actually the first organization that I've worked for in my 20 plus years of being in talent acquisition that has that level of commitment.
That is absolutely amazing, Jamila. And thank you for that breakdown, because I know of Sallie Mae and of Freddie Mac. I mean, Sallie Mae sends me mail, but I had no idea that that's what Freddie Mac did or how y'all operate. So for those of us who had no idea, thank you so much. That was great. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. I see you have one more slide here, so I'll yield the stage again. Pardon me.
And I think I covered it all in my presentation. So I'm actually all set to move on to the next speaker.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamila. And for our other speakers as well, if once you're ready for me to flip the slide, give me a heads up so that way I don't leave your slide off for too long. Okay, so thank you, Jamila, so much for showing us or telling us a little bit more about Freddie Mac. Let's go over to Cummins, and we're going to talk to Bongani hold on, I can do it. Shabalala.
Correct.
Oh, God. Bongani was nice enough to let me practice before we started today's session. So thank you, Bongani. I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bongani Shabalala, and I am the Senior Talent Acquisition Specialist at Cummins. My role is to particularly look after early careers, and this is for the Europe region. So you may ask yourself what Cummins does. We are actually a global power leader that designs, manufactures, distributes, and services diesel engines, natural gas engines, and powertrain related component products. And these products would include filtration, after treatment, systems, control systems, air handling systems, transmissions, electric power generation systems, batteries, and other electrified power systems as well. So we actually have a presence in over 190 countries globally, and we employ over 57,000 employees globally as well. So in 2020, we actually built over 1.3 million engines, and we actually have 9,000 Cummins certified dealer locations globally as well. In 2020, we actually invested about $903 million in research and technology because we like reinventing ourselves, and we are big in the research and technology and research and development space. And we actually have over 102 years of industry leadership. A lot of people always ask me, you are a power leader, but what do you actually power? My response is very simple. We actually power the Statue of Liberty in New York. We power the high-speed passenger rail in India and around the world. We power the Routemaster's bus in the United Kingdom. We power the Clean Bus Power in China. We also power the Wrigley Field in Chicago. And we power a whole host of marine applications in and around the globe. So we do this in 5 operating segments, and these segments would be the engine segment, and then it is followed by the power systems segment, closely followed by the components segment. And then we've got distribution, and the very last one and the newest one is the new power segment that we have developed over the years. We're currently still harnessing. So if you actually look at some of our values, we take integrity very seriously, doing what you say you will do and doing what is right all the time. And diversity and inclusion is a very big one. We've actually added equity, so it's diversity, equity, inclusion now. Caring is one of our core values as well. We demonstrate awareness and consideration for the well-being of others and their families. And excellence is at the core of our values as well, because we want to always deliver superior results. Teamwork is, also another important value for us, where we collaborate across teams, we collaborate across functions, we do business cross-border, and we deliver the best work that we can for our clients. That's just about it now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bongani. That is really great. I love learning more about Cummins. I had no idea that y'all power both Wrigley Field and the Statue of Liberty. So thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, now we're going to move into our next presenter, Latoya Smalls from the NGA. Latoya, I'm really eager to hear more about this really amazing government organization. Why don't you tell us more about it?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I realize there's a lot of information up there, but I'll sum it all up to say, my name is Latoya, and it's just really pleasant to meet each and every one of you. Yes, I am a part of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. I always make the joke to say that 3 times fast with your nose plugged and see how that goes, if you ever need a fun topic to discuss in the future. But yes, NGA, I've been with them since I was a student intern, believe it or not, over 15 years. So I kind of like where I am, which is great. There's several different positions that we have, and I'll talk about career broadening opportunities in a little bit of why I've been here for so long. I know when I engage with people, they say, wow, you're a millennial, you're still there. I still am. So I'm a part of the talent acquisition group. I am the lead for the marketing outreach team. So it's just, again, so great to be here. If we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Thanks. So it should talk about like, what is geospatial intelligence? I think go one back, doesn't matter, stay there, I can flex. So NGA, we're a combination of an intelligence agency. We're part of the intelligence community. So you hear the CIA, the DIA, the NSA, we're a part of that whole group. And we work with intelligence agency as well as combat support groups. So you have all of our military branches. And we're leading in that timely intelligence. And our part is what we saw GeoInt. So GeoInt is geospatial intelligence, which is a combination of imagery and geospatial information, so maps and charts. So you're probably still like, Latoya, I'm still going above the charts. What does that really mean? It helps answer the questions, what is going on at a specific time at this particular location? Pretty easy, right? That is what we're trying to give and comprehend to all of our different customers within the intelligence community, as well as to our troops that are out in the fields. So This slide right here, we're talking about the employer choice. I kind of went over our big enduring mission. It goes from various different, combat situations to our humanitarian efforts. My career actually spans both. I am by trade what they called an imagery analyst. So I look at various different images going towards like humanitarian issues. So I will joke and say way back in the day, but it's not that far away. But when we had the Haitian crisis with the earthquake, I was a part of the analyst. I was working back at home with the people that was actually in Haiti to really be able to help tell refugees as well as internally placed people so what's going on directly for our customers. And that's very important information to have. But our mission doesn't just span with imagery analysts, it's everybody. We have 15,000 employees spread throughout the globe to support. That goes from imagery, geospatial, all the way to our business analysts, as well as financial, human development, or talent acquisition like myself. That career services structure is one thing that we enhance really well to specifically help the needs of each individual. As well as we have opportunities, like it says, joint duty rotation. So a person like myself can go to I see different groups as well, bring the information talent back. That's one of the reasons why I really enjoy NGA. You don't have to necessarily stay at one particular position for your whole entire period. 15 years, no, I haven't been doing the same exact thing, if that makes you have any questions there. I've also had the pleasure to travel. That work-life balance, a compressed schedule, and then telework. The pandemic really taught the federal government how to really adjust with telework opportunities. So some of our positions also allow that flexibility. For example, when I'm in currently right now, I'm working from home right now, which is very great pleasure and also internet reliable. I went over the challenging work, our job security. Of course, you have to have a security clearance and on all of our positions, but once you have that, it's very secure and moving forward for different positions in the future as well. When we go into the last most important part, we talk about diversity, it is very important to our agency, right? We had a speaker last month for our agency, Speak with Power to Fly, and I just want to share one of the quotes that she gave, which was just our cultural vision, is that we want to create this work environment that values empathetic, inclusive, and psychologically safe teammates that thrive, that we can all show our full potential. And that is very, very important to all of the employees here. And I know people may say, really? No, seriously, our leadership from the top all the way down the bottom really enhance this vision and have different areas of where we enhance it and show it through our SEP groups. That is our special emphasis groups. We always make the saying, you don't have to be one to join one, which means that we have various different minority groups, as well as persons with disabilities, women's, as well as minority groups. And it's always great to have allies to be a part of those different organizations. Monthly, we have activities for all of them, especially right now, we're in Women's History Month, right? So our women's organization is really championing and leading various different activities, as well as our main event, really engaging as well too. So with that, I know we have some questions later, and I can always talk a lot more about why diversity is important and why we have it, but I will save more for later on. And then I did see some questions in the chat. Definitely use our QR code, or I guess it's on this side, use our QR code to look at all the various different positions that we have open, as well as if they have any other questions there. All right, that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Latoya. That was absolutely wonderful. Now let's move in and talk a little bit about Kensho. We're going to talk to Brian Menduk from Kensho. So Brian, I'm going to turn the stage over to you.
Yeah, thank you. And I just realized, Megan, we don't have like the chat function on our Zoom. So if anyone is on this and wants to ask me a question specifically, they can reach out, Megan, maybe directly to you on the chat, and then you can just announce it. I can't, I'm not able.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Yeah, we had that issue yesterday. We had reported it to Zoom, so we were hoping it'd be fixed today, but it doesn't look like it. So if y'all are trying to reach out to any of the company reps that are here today, you can do that in the chat if you would like in that main chat. Just understand, by the nature of how it's set up, you're going to get, it's going to become, instead of threaded, a very long single stream. But if you do want to reach out to any of the people who are part of our company reps today, most of them have contact info listed on their slides, or you can always find all that information in the main job fair landing page. You can click on the company name, and there's an FAQ doc that'll have any relevant contact info that we were able to get from these companies. So thank you, Brian, for calling that out. I'm going to turn the floor over to you to talk about Kensho.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I am Brian Menduk. I am the head of TA here at Kensho. most people here have probably never heard of Kensho. We are a smaller company, but part of a larger parent company itself. Kensho, we are about 100 people or so. We are a subsidiary of S&P Global, otherwise known as Standard & Poor's. If you're familiar with like the financial markets, like the S&P 500, for instance, is like one of their main indexes. They sell data services to companies around the world. Specifically, though, what Kensho is a machine learning and AI innovation hub of S&P. So while S&P is this large, company with 30, 40, 50,000 employees, Kensho remains its own independent brand and culture, just with the stability of a large company backing. So we're about 100 people today, and about 80% of our company is engineering, software engineering and product management, design, et cetera. So technical roles. So we're a highly technical company, and we're hiring across the board in engineering. If you can go to the next slide. A little bit about our culture and values. Kensho's values are really centered around allowing people to do their best work and gain a lot of knowledge while being here. So all of that centered around things like empowerment, inclusion, open communication, and pursuit of excellence. So how we do that, for instance, one big thing we are big on at Kensho is continuous learning. So the first Thursday of every month, we actually give everyone the day to learn something new. So you don't have to work on your actual day-to-day projects. If you want to learn, if you are a back-end developer, for instance, and you wanted to learn some front-end skills, go learn front-end skills. If there was if you're trying to become a manager and you want to learn about, communication styles and you want to read a book, read a book. We basically, there are no rules, except don't do what you normally do day to day. That's the only rule. We want to encourage people to go out and learn something new. So that way, you can pursue excellence. We want to empower people to take on new things, learn new skills, and really develop over their time here at Kensho. Culturally, as well, we are now a flexibility first company. So we have no official return to office plans. Our offices are in Boston, New York, and DC, but they are optional to go into moving forward. We are open to remote workers across the US. And yeah, I think that is Kensho.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Brian, for sharing that with us. I do see some questions in the chat pertaining to, company FAQs, that kind of stuff. I'm going to write up some copy that I can keep sharing with y'all. But short answer is we're not doing separate Google Docs like we have done for job fairs in the past. If you want to look at the FAQ docs, like all the stuff that we used to share on those separate Google Docs, go to the virtual job fair landing page. You're going to click on any of the company names, logos that are right there, and that'll give you the option to go to their FAQ as well as check out their open roles. And if you weren't around for the first bit either, the QR codes that are behind on the backgrounds for each of our speakers, those QR codes are each separate. So Brian's QR code will take you to the Kensho job openings page. Same with Julia's. Julia's code will take you to the MindBody job listings page. So in case anybody wasn't clear on that, there is that information for you as well. And like I said, I'll come up with some kind of copy that we keep sharing in the thread so we're not interrupting our speakers. All right, Brian, that was absolutely amazing about Kensho. Let's move on to our last panelist and talk about MindBody with Julia Healy. Julia, all yours.
Yeah, hi everyone. I know that we've been sitting, listening to people talk for quite some time, so feel free to stand up, move around, stretch while I'm talking if you need to. I know sometimes when you're sitting listening to people talk for a while, it can feel a little like you need a break. So use this time to take a wellness break, because here's my intro to MindBody. MindBody is a wellness company. So MindBody actually consists of 3 different segments. We have the MindBody software product, which is a booking platform used by small, medium, and enterprise businesses that provide fitness experiences or wellness experiences to people all over the world. Then we have our Booker segment, another scheduling platform specifically designed for wellness businesses, spas, salons, so that they can manage their customer base. And then most recently, there's the ClassPass part of the business. ClassPass is a consumer-facing platform where anybody who wants to get in a great workout or a wellness experience can pop on there, book a class or an appointment with any small, medium, or enterprise-sized businesses on the platform. So I specifically work in the ClassPass side of the business. My official title is Senior Director of Account Development. So unlike my colleagues here on this call, I'm actually not in talent acquisition. I'm a hiring manager, and I'm a functional leader for the company. So one thing that I think is really interesting to highlight from the MindBody side is every team under the MindBody family is focused on one mission, and that's to bring wellness experiences to as many people as possible. So through this mission, we support many, many, many different types of people, from small business owners, which obviously are the lifeblood of our economy, to folks that are in desperate need of any sort of wellness experience. I'm sure this can probably resonate with some people on this call, but coming out of this pandemic, it's been a really tough 2 years. And so wellness experiences now are in higher demand than ever. So one of the things that I think can be really powerful as we're thinking about company missions is, what are we doing right now to make an impact on the world? And I'm really proud to say that MindBody, Booker, ClassPass are all leaning into this mission to make wellness more accessible. You go to the next slide for me. Thank you. So the MindBody core values fit really nicely with what we're trying to achieve as a company. We're very committed to wellness. So we believe that there are 7 dimensions of wellness: physical, emotional, intellectual, social, environmental, occupational, and spiritual. Wellness isn't just about going to get a massage and feeling good for a few minutes. It's about reconnecting with that portion of yourself that drives a healthy mind and a healthy heart. Audaciously achieving. We as a company are focused on taking whatever we do to the next level and constantly seeking out excellence. We're very passionate as an organization about growing our mission, helping our customers grow, and helping our consumers that leverage our platforms grow as well. Humble and helpful. We recognize that in order to be successful, in order to be the best version of ourselves, we have to actually care about each other, and we have to be able to take feedback and make sure that we keep our service mindset in the forefront of everything that we do. We're empathetic. One thing that I'm really proud of from this company is that we like to put ourselves in the shoes of both our customers and our consumers. We truly are a customer first company, and everything that we do, from the product side of the business to the people facing side of the business, we try to keep our customers in the forefront of that, so that anything that we create and anything that we change or improve upon is for our customers and for our consumers. Last but not least, consciously evolving. We know that this environment, particularly coming out of this pandemic, we're gonna change. There are gonna be wellness needs that are different today than they were a year ago. And a year from now, wellness needs will be different. So we're constantly finding ways that we can make things better and grow and improve, while also celebrating the wins that we've had so far.
That is so great, Julia. Thank you so much for sharing that about MindBody. My favorite local gym uses a MindBody tool to book appointments and book classes with them. So I have loved MindBody since before y'all were our customers, or our clients, I'm sorry. But I hope everybody gets a chance to experience, how much great stuff MindBody can really connect you with in the area around you. So thank you, Julia, for that.
Love to hear that.
All right. Okay, so this is going to end the first presentation section of today's event. So for the next half hour, what we are going to be doing is we're going to be posing some questions to our panelists, depending on what questions y'all shared with us prior to the event starting today, as well as questions that you all are submitting during the event today as well. So If you have a question for any one of the team members on the call today, please feel free to send it into the group chat. And then we will be in there, hopefully getting to answer as many of your questions as possible. Now, let's see here. Bogani, spotlight. Brian, if you want to turn your camera on too, then we can spotlight you and move you up to the main stage as well. There we go. Okay, so we're going to start with some of the questions that were kind of asked the most frequently for today's sessions. So let's talk a little bit about how your company promotes allyship and accountability for equity on your teams or in your communities. We've had companies talk about, the community initiatives that they do. Other companies have more, of an internal initiative towards really building or solidifying that culture of equity and belonging at their groups. So let's see. Let's start with Brian. Do you want to kick us off here?
Yeah. So Kensho does quite a few things around DEI, which I think is cool in the uniqueness of our company structure. So when it comes to I know in some larger companies, people talk about the employee resource groups. Obviously, initial thought is right, we're a 100-person company, we don't have the scale to run a lot of these things. But with the partnership with being an S&P company, we're actually able to take advantage of both our own internal benefits and also the things that S&P offers. So S&P offers, employee resource groups for pretty much, anything you can imagine. And all of our employees are welcome to take advantage of all of those benefits that S&P offers. Additionally, at Kensho, we promote allyship by having onboarding allies, not specifically someone on your team, but cross-functional partners. Anyone in the business, we offer it to pretty much anyone in our DEI Slack channel, hey, who wants to be an onboarding ally for, whoever it is joining? It doesn't matter if you're doing the same job, completely different job, you may never work with that person. We want to encourage people around the company to know each other. We also do a lot of things specifically around impact. So we actually have a cool thing at Kensho called our Team Impact Team. Now, it sounds funny because I used the word team twice, but that team is really dedicated towards, it's all volunteer work. So we encourage people to spend a few hours a week on it. We have a bunch of different subgroups. Those things can be around climate change or, women in technology or whatever it may be. And we work with nonprofit groups to help them advance, maybe it's a technical project that they really need help on and where we can use our technical skills to lend out to nonprofit organizations that are trying to advance things that are really important to us. And people are encouraged to volunteer for one group or multiple groups, whatever they want to do, and make an impact that way. So not only internally, but to actual nonprofits for that, we really care about.
Wow, I love that. And, there's a ton of love in the chat. Tiffany said that she's super amazed at what Kensho is doing. So thank you, thank you, Tiffany, for sharing that with us.
Yeah, and you can, if anyone is curious about some of that, on the Kensho site, if you go to kensho.com under the Life at Kensho tab on the top right, there's actually a specific page dedicated to impact. So if you click impact, you can learn more about those projects there.
Excellent. Very cool. Okay. I do see more people chiming in the chat thread asking about are you hiring for blah, blah, blah. Make sure that you go into the virtual job fair landing page, click on the company names, and you can get all of the FAQ doc information as well as links to their, a direct link to their their job postings on Powerfly. You can search those job postings, so it's super easy, but definitely take advantage of that. So that way you can, be able to, if you have further questions, ask stuff that might not be Googleable to, the people that you have, have this FaceTime with in the meeting today. So thank you to everybody for those questions. All right, so we heard from Kensho. Let's talk to Freddie Mac. Freddie Mac obviously is a massive org. What do y'all do in terms of promoting that equity both within teams, but also in your community?
Sure. So we do have a dedicated office of inclusive engagement. And they're actually responsible for our DEI practices. And these are really embedded throughout our culture, certainly how we do business, how we engage with people and our suppliers, and most importantly, I would say how we serve our local communities. This year, I'm really proud to announce that we're going to continue to build on the momentum, and we're going to have our Chief Diversity Officer report directly to our CEO. So that in itself displays a tremendous investment that we have, right? And this is going to help create a business division that's going to be dedicated to all of our inclusive engagement functions. So we're really excited about that for this year.
That is wonderful to hear. Okay, let's talk to Bongani from Cummins. Bongani, how does Cummins participate, in equity within the community, or how do you encourage this diversity, equity, and inclusion when it comes to your teams?
Yeah, it's pretty much similar, like what Brian mentioned. We're very, very big on ERGs. So we've got about 150 employee resource groups. They are obviously segmented according to the intersectionality that exists within, DE&I. We also have groups that are allyship for those particular ERGs that we actually have. So that's really, really very big, in terms of, making sure that everybody has a heightened sense of belonging and everybody feels they're supported and valued within the organization. But over and above that, what we've introduced is we used to have a DE&I leader from a global perspective that used to sit in the US. But what we've introduced now is regional DE&I leaders that kind of look at the regional nuances and making sure that, they're taking those different nuances into consideration when they formulate a DE&I strategy for the regions. So that's one of the big things that we're really excited about, that is going to heighten our, DE&I strategy and making sure that it is a global strategy that is rolled out per region.
Very cool. All right, love to hear it. Latoya from the NGA, let's talk to you about how the NGA is encouraging DEIB in their communities, as well as what that looks like from the inside NGA. How does that work on teams?
Sure. Similarly to what was mentioned by some of our colleagues here, is that what we have is what we call our special emphasis programs, or our SEP council groups. And those represented various different backgrounds and nationalities and minority groups as well. And then, as I mentioned earlier, persons with disabilities. So people can have that sacred and shared safe environment, as well as having allies. Instead of having it separate organizations with them, it's having people actually embedded as well too. In addition, some of our organizations have also created lessons of best ways to be best allies for the different groups, which is very, very important, right? And it's courses that our leadership can take, as well as all the way down to our employees. So it doesn't mean that you have to be in a certain role to take these different trainings to be the best ally you can within an organization. These are things that are very, very key. And also just to emphasize, we have our own group as well. It's called our Office of I was just about to lose it again. Diversity and Equal Opportunities Group. I call them ODE so much, I had to remember all the various different acronyms that we have. But this is our set group that is set for the whole group, as well as our senior that is in charge that has to report directly to our director. So that just shows you the importance of this information that's not channeling up, but also channeling down to its employees. Every year they have a different particular promotional set study that is emphasized on the various different sub-council groups as well too, to make sure we also learn best lessons learned, what can we do better, and also apply these things for future groups as well. One thing is to emphasize, I heard from Ken show too, is our mentorship program within the organizations, even outside. It's just making sure that people can have that safe space. They can go in and talk to individuals as well that may look like them as various ways, and maybe just have similar backgrounds too. And especially with our student internship programs, we really want to make sure they have, of course, that best experience when they first enter the company, as well as their entry level. So being intentional with that particular target relationship too.
Very cool. Thank you, Latoya, for sharing that. We are getting seeing more love in the chat as well for the NGA. All right, Julia, take us home with MindBody. How does MindBody, not only encourage this kind of equity, belonging, inclusion, internally, but are there any community projects as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So similar to what's been said, so I won't repeat what's already been said, but our internal focus on DEIB is profound and it's deep. Between our specific DEIB team that we have internally, the ERGs at the company, and inclusive hiring practices. One other thing to note that I think is interesting that I'm sure my colleagues on this call are also doing, recruiting practices are fascinating these days with remote work being more and more popular. It gives an opportunity for folks that don't necessarily live in large hubs where there could be an office to have an opportunity to work for some of these companies that are willing to hire remote people. So MindBody's taken the stance that we will continue to hire remotely and allow folks to work remotely as well as another inclusion tactic. But one piece that I wanted to highlight as well, from the ClassPass side of our business, which is where I came from before MindBody acquired ClassPass, we have what we call our social impact fund. And over the last couple of years, we've dedicated significant amounts of money towards interest-free loans and prepayments for small businesses that are woman-owned, minority-owned, and in areas of the country where we believe wellness services are needed. So I'm really proud of that initiative and having stood that up over the last couple of years. And it's made a significant impact. We have, last I checked, we had 5 businesses that were stood up in areas that needed wellness services because of the funds, the interest-free loans that we were able to provide for those small business owners. So really, really
That's
exciting
wonderful.
to be able to make a difference that way.
Yes, I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Julia, for sharing that. And one thing, it was kind of playing in the back of my mind, but Latoya, I really appreciate you talking about how the ERG groups also consider folks with disabilities. That is huge. I know that we've heard from a lot of people, a lot of our community members, especially in the last several days, things that are invisible diversities, kind of take a back seat some of the time. And it's not that one is better than the other, but, we kind of need to think of them all in a holistic way. So yeah, I love hearing about, these efforts to help, people living with disabilities, neurodivergent people. Age is also a huge one that falls off the diversity and inclusion and, kind of space. But yeah, like it's also a huge part of this. So thank you, Latoya, for touching on that. All right, so let's go into one of the questions that we just got asked during the chat thread today. Okay, so Neha had asked, how accepting are companies of individuals who've made a career change and are new in their chosen career path? We get this question asked in tandem with a lot with folks that have career breaks. So let's go around to the group and talk about, what that reception looks like, what y'all think of people with, either in career transition or coming back to work after a career break. Bongani, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. We actually are in the middle of a very exciting program called the Repower Program. What the Repower Program does is it focuses on, candidates that are looking to venture back into the market, into the world of work, post a career break. So, from a requirements perspective, they need to have about at least 5 years of experience and a minimum of a 2-year career gap. And, they're looking to come back into the organization, and we have a traineeship that they go through for about 6 months that kind of reintegrates them into the world of work. And, after that, they obviously then get appointed on a permanent basis. So there's quite a lot of inclusive recruiting training that is currently happening for our TA teams regionally, where we are looking at, kind of overcoming bias against career gaps, because we find that in the past, recruiters would look at a CV, and if there's a career gap, they will probably tend not to shortlist that candidate. So what we do is a lot of training and ensuring that that bias is removed from the process. Our long-term goal is to actually not have a particular process that is specific to Repower, and just to have our recruiters trained that you don't have to be biased towards the person who has a career gap. But before we get there, we've got what is called Repower, which is a great program that is aimed at integrating candidates that are looking to come back into the workplace.
That is so cool. Gigi is in the chat asking about where to find more information about that Repower program. I know we likely have stuff on our website, but if people want more info, can they find that on Cummins page?
Yes, definitely. On the Cummins page, there is a particular page about Repower. If you go into there, you can learn more about the program, and it actually opens in a few weeks' time globally. So you will roles everywhere in the world that are aimed at repowering candidates.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Bogani. And thank you, Gigi, for that great question. All right, let's go to Latoya. You were in one of the last rounds the last time, so let's flip the script here. How does the NGA look at people either in career transition or coming off of a break?
Sure. So we have a career transition program. It's within our employees program, but it's just basically we have several different AON positions that are centered around for mid to senior level professionals. And you'll see that actually listed within our job announcements. You'll see like pay band 4s or pay band 3 positions that are highlighting that. And it's like we welcome it, right? Because people take those breaks. Mothers like myself and my mother themselves as well too, you know, have children take a break and then they come back and then doing all that various different training in between and want to come back into the workforce, which is very important. Or learning different skill sets from different companies as well too, and then saying, you know, this is kind of the career that I want to go and engage in. So the first of all is just going through our normal AON process was our job announcement that you can check out on our cool QR page. I keep forgetting which way to point, doesn't matter. Anyways, but then secondly, within it is just that we have a program within our NGA employee system is that they have a set group that welcomes and engages and kind of helps you navigate like what now next. This is a new culture. How do I really best put my foot in? How do I use these different skills and talents to actually engage as well too? So it's just going through and applying. And then once you get there is knowing that you have a set group that is also welcoming and to help you with that transition itself.
I absolutely love hearing about stuff like this. Thank you so much, Latoya, for sharing. All right, so let's go to Julia. How do things like career transitions or coming off of a career break, how are those looked or handled within MindBody?
Totally, that's a great question. So again, I think I maybe come to this panel with a bit of a different perspective. Because I'm a hiring manager, and so I'm actively filling roles for my own teams in my organization. And one of the things that I actually tend to look for are folks that are making a career transition and can speak to why they want to work with small businesses or medium-sized businesses. Where does that passion come from? And personally, I'd much rather hire somebody who has passion around the mission than somebody who has years and years of experience doing the, what we call the hard skills. Another thing that I think is critical to remember here is anybody can be taught if they're willing to learn. And so looking for that, I guess what we could call a soft skill, but in my opinion is probably the most important skill to have when you're looking for somebody to come to join your team. Making sure that person is open to learning and wants to learn. We can teach anybody how to navigate our processes and how to have a conversation with a small business owner, but we can't teach that passion. So, I think I may be coming to this panel with a bit of a different perspective, but for everybody on this call who's had a career gap or is making a career change, the company that's willing to see you for who you are and see the skills that you bring to the table, as opposed to just what's on your resume, probably the place where you should end up anyway.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Freddie Mac, let's talk to Jamila. How does Freddie Mac deal with career transitioners or people coming off breaks?
I would definitely say career transitions. We see this all the time internally, right? Just our employees moving from one skill set to another. So it's really encouraging to see how much it's being promoted internal. When it comes to the external piece of it, I mean, I think all of us who are certainly in talent acquisition, and certainly many of you as candidates are well aware of how super competitive this market is right now. And because of the competitiveness of the market, it's really challenged us to really have to think about talent in a different way, right? And really to expand and broaden how we approach the recruiting process. So what that means for us is that oftentimes, because of that competitiveness, we are having to consider talent pools that maybe we may not have been as inclined to consider in the past. And I would definitely say one of those talent pools are talent who is certainly looking to transition and have transferable skills, as well as talent who may have career gaps. Now, I'll actually second one of the things that Cummins had mentioned. We made what I consider to be a tremendous investment last year in providing a learning or training opportunity to our people leaders here at Freddie that is focused on unconscious bias in the interview and selection process. And this is a 2-day learning opportunity for our people leaders to really look at all stages of the hiring process, from reviewing resumes all the way through the selection process. And let's face it, we all have bias, right? And I think as hiring leaders, oftentimes you kind of get stuck into what good looks like for your team. And sometimes people tend to hire into the same mold, right? But this learning experience for our people leaders really challenges that. And it's a very raw training that brings all of those biases to the forefront, to include resume gaps, right? Cultural differences. So it's again, a learning opportunity we put in place last year. We're continuing to carry on this year. It's received tremendous response from our people leaders in acknowledgement that, yes, I may have had some biases in the past that I didn't even recognize and own, but because of this, I'm now broadening my horizons, which I think is ultimately going to result in us having greater flexibility in what good looks like for our organization. It's no more about culture fit, but more about culture add.
I love that. And I think you're right. We had a bunch of questions in the chat thread asking if, the pandemic has affected or impacted recruiters and hiring managers' willingness to speak with individuals that have more recent career gaps. I would say yes. Does anybody think no? I'm guessing it's a universal yes from most of our panelists. But yeah, it's a really, really great thing to touch on and to ask about. Now, Jamila, when you were talking, I'm so sorry, I just lost mid-sentence. I lost my train of thought. I had a really great question for you and now it's gone. If I think of it, I will ask again. But yeah, thank you, Jamila, for sharing that. All right, so we only have 5 minutes left before we need to be wrapped up and move on into our breakout rooms. So I'm not gonna pull another question from the chat, mostly because these are really good ones, but they deserve a deep dive answer. So let's see here. All right, so when it comes to Latoya, you had mentioned something about working parents. Do y'all have, an ERG for that, programs in place? Oh, hold on. Sorry, scratch that. Jamila, I remember what I was going to ask you about. Okay, so when y'all are talking about those implicit biases and like that internal culture training, we love to hear stuff like that, because as we're going through and hopefully most companies are checking out, looking at your systems. Are your systems that people work within built to do that kind of instead of selecting down, you're really more grouping in and saying okay, well, who else can we pull into this? But it's really good to hear that you're not only addressing it from a systems perspective, but from a people perspective, because we are people who live and work within these imperfect systems that people create. But yeah, I think that those things like those implicit biases are just as important to address as the tendency of people to alphabetize their list that they're going through people-wise. Like when I got married, my last name went from an M beginning to an A. And within 2 weeks, no lie, I saw a huge jump on the amount of callbacks I got for my resume, stuff like that. So even something as simple as, not alphabetizing your list and randomizing it, can have a huge impact on people who didn't pick the last name that starts with Y. So I love hearing about the different ways companies are looking and addressing these biases and, you know, looking at it as a culture gap that you want to fill, as opposed to, do you fit in what we've already got going? I love that.